Tell me if this sounds familiar. You just got into a card game, you're researching online all the best decks, figuring out what works for your playstyle and your budget, narrowing down the perfect cards that you want to buy. You finally get your hands on those cards. You just spent hundreds potentially to finally get this stack of cardboard, and all of a sudden, a new expansion comes out, a new ban list comes out, and that card that you just bought 4 copies of a month ago is now restricted to 1 copy, and it's only like $5 now, and you spent a ton of money to get 4 copies, and you can't even resell them for what you paid for. Have you been there before? Well, this video is going to help you solve that for all of you who are getting into the hololive official card game. Hello and welcome. My name is Camlange, talking about all things hololive OCG. If you like this video, give it a thumbs up, hit that subscribe button, and ring the bell. It really helps the channel grow. But with that said, let's get into it. Now, if you saw the thumbnail and you're seeing the screen and you clicked off right away and you just wanted that deck list, well, you're a sucker, because this is actually not my choice for the best deck for your buck. This is, without a doubt, the #1 deck currently. Mume Promise is incredibly strong. The Mume Oshi card is one of the best. And this is, as you can even see, this is a pre-restricted set. So you can kind of tell what's coming already. But yes, yeah, if you want the best deck right now, you should build this. I have it built because I'm going to be playing it. But if you're looking for a long-term deck that's going to last, then I would actually recommend a different set. And I actually want to give a big shout out to the runner of this page. This is the Holo Archive. User Chocolate has archived all these deck lists based off the Japanese meta. It's on their Google Drive, and you can find the links to it in the hololive OCG fan Discord. I'll leave the links to this Holo Archive as well as the fan server in the description down below. So make sure to support the group. And again, thank you to Chocolate for providing these deck lists and being a source of valuable information for the community. So with that said, if you see this tier list right for the very first expansion, which we're currently in the EN regions, Blooming Radiance, yeah, Mume #1. But if you look right next to Mume, who do we got there? We got Amane Kanata, right? So she's an incredible deck, and we're going to explain why. So set 2, who's #1? Amane Kanata. Set 3, who's #1? Amane Kanata. Set 4, who's top tier in the top 3? You guessed it, Amane Kanata. So this is a deck that's going to last you a long time. It's not going away anytime soon. If you invest in it now, it'll serve you long term. Granted, you're going to obviously have to make changes with each expansion, but for the most part, you're going to have the bones of the deck ready to go, and you're not going to have to worry too much about it dropping out of the meta or becoming irrelevant. As you can see, Mume Promise still strong in the A tier come set 4, but it has a lot more ups and downs. There's restrictions kind of bounce it around. Different cards kind of make it a little weaker here and there. So it's much more volatile, and it's definitely impacted the most by the restrictions. And we'll talk about those restrictions in just a moment. But let's just dive in right away into the core deck list for Amane Kanata. Her Oshi card, of course, incredibly strong. I'll read out what it does. So 5 life, it's white cheer. As you can see, 20 white cheer in your cheer deck. It's mono white. She has the Oshi skill that costs 3 holo power, which is Squish Squish. Great. Love that name. Once per turn, set the opponent's center holomem's remaining HP to 50. The first time I played against this deck and I saw that, I kind of blew my mind. I was like, is that real? Is that actually what it does? And yep, that's what it does. It's not even her special Oshi skill that you use once per game. You can do this once per turn. Granted, 3 holo power is a bit costly, but in the grand scheme of the game, really not that bad. And it's going to be extremely useful. You can take any card, no matter how bulky it is, and reduce that holomem to 50, just with that Oshi skill alone. Incredibly strong. And now moving on to her special Oshi skill. It costs 2 holo power, and you can only use it once per game. I'll squish you, noticing a theme here. Once per game during this turn, one of your holomem gets arts plus 50. Then, if that holomem's color is white, it gets arts plus 50. So, you're going to be running a mono Kanata deck build anyway. As you can see, this is all white cheer. And you're basically just once per game, you can have one of your holomem get plus 100 arts. That's an insane attack boost. That is insanely strong, and you're going to see that that's not the only way you're going to boost your attack power throughout this deck. Let's look at the second Bloom Amane Kanata card here. So you can see we have 4 copies of it, and what this second Bloom does is it has the collab effect of deal 50 special damage to your opponent's center holomem. You don't have to be a math expert to put 2 and 2 together here. Oshi skill, reduce center holomem to 50 HP, collab effect on the second Bloom, deal 50 special damage to your center holomem, to your opponent's center holomem, knockout. You can just knock out anything if you have that combination, which is, again, not very difficult to set up because you only need 3 holo power and the second Bloom. So it's incredibly powerful. It's something you have to be constantly afraid of when you're playing against it, being on the lookout for that second Bloom to come out. And there's not a whole lot you can really do against it. You know, Mume, her Oshi skill allows you to reduce damage taken by 50, but regardless, you're only temporarily saving yourself. It's really easy to set up another just 50 arts attack, even if you temporarily spare yourself. So either way, it's dangerous. And let's work our way backwards now to some of the first Bloom cards. So we have the one with the Bloom effect, Angel's Work. It's going to be this one right to the left of the second Bloom. Her Bloom effect is deal 30 special damage to your opponent's center holomem. However, your opponent's life does not reduce even if down. So basically what that means is if your opponent is at their center holomem's at 30 HP and you use this Bloom effect, it would knock them out, but they don't lose a life for it. So there is a bit of a balance there, but regardless, you're still removing a center holomem from the field. And even then, let's say you do this in tandem with your special Oshi skill, reduce their center holomem to 50, reduce it to 20 with this Bloom effect, and then attack with just basically anything for another 20 damage and knock it out. Easiest knockout of your life. And it also, this is a first Bloom, so you could stack this, right? If you have multiple debut Amane Kanata on your field, you could just play 2 of this and do 60 to your opponent's center holomem and knock it out. Or you can you do a side Bloom. And for those of you that don't know what a side Bloom is, you can actually bloom a first Bloom holomem into another first Bloom holomem. So you can just play this card like your next turn again, stack it, and you're good to go. So extremely versatile card. And for only 2 cheer, you can do 50 damage. So that's going to get you most of the way for what you need. Pretty strong. And speaking of that too, let's actually go back to the second Bloom for a second, because I did only focus on its collab effect. But for 3 white cheer, you can do Wings Darker Than Black for 100, and it has plus 50 if it's against a red cheer card. So potentially swinging for 150 depending on the type, but generally swinging for 100. But if your opponent's holomem is downed by this arts, and the dealt damage was greater than the remaining HP by 50 or more, your opponent gets life -1. So you can take an extra life if you're doing enough extra damage to your opponent. So let's just say you're going against a red cheer deck, you're swinging at Kiara, you're doing 150, and you know Kiara's only at 100, so it's 50 HP, like, is the leftover amount extra that you're dealing. It would take another life. It's crazy. So yeah, so you're seeing a theme here. There's a lot of really strong cards that exert a lot of pressure on your opponent, just doing a lot of basically like chip damage, doing like easy knockouts, taking extra life. It's incredibly strong. So you can see why the shelf life of this deck is pretty long and is going to last you quite some time. So going back to the first Blooms, we have to the left of our first Bloom holomem here, our other first Bloom. It has the Bloom effect of, you may roll dice once. If it is a 3 or less, reveal 1 mascot from your deck and attach it to your holomem, then shuffle the deck. So the mascot card you're going to be running is this guy right here in the bottom left. That's Upal. I believe that's how you pronounce it. Correct me if I'm wrong. Let me know in the comments down below. Like, comment, subscribe. So this mascot, the holomem this mascot is attached to gets arts +10. So you're already getting a bit of a damage boost there. But its additional ability is if it's attached to Amane Kanata, it's gonna be once per turn during your opponent's turn. When the holomem this mascot is attached to takes damage, deal 20 special damage to your opponent's center holomem. You're seeing the pattern here, right? Like, even if you somehow don't manage to get the knockout during your turn, there's still this threat of, if you have this mascot attached, they're going to be taking 20 damage just for trying to attack you. So again, really incredible synergy. Just a lot of threats on the board at all times. Now, you only run one copy of this last first bloom Amane here, but for one cheer, it does 20 damage, which for, you know, a lot of the situations in this deck might just be what you need. And it has 150 HP, so it's gonna be pretty safe on the board. I think that's like the big benefit of running this. If you notice, the other two first blooms that we looked at, while they're extremely strong, their HP is not the highest. So we have 100 HP on one of them and 120 HP on the other. So you basically really just run this one copy as kind of a wall and doing that little bit of chip damage for a low cost. So you don't really need more than one in there. And then looking at this, our first debut card here that you run 4 copies of, this one has the collab effect, where during this turn, your center holomem gets arts plus 10. Then if your center holomem has a hashtag Gen 4, your center holomem gets arts plus 20. So it's arts plus 30, because this is a mono Kanata deck. They all say hashtag Gen 4. I'm double checking to make sure I'm not lying to you. And yes, they all say hashtag Gen 4. So there you go. It's free extra attack boost there with that collab effect. So I feel like I'm repeating myself because so many of these effects and arts do similar things, but you can see why this is so scary, why it's so dangerous, and why it's so potent in the metagame for many expansions to come. There is the other debut card, which is the last holomem of the deck list. This deck list recommends running 9 copies of this, and if you're unaware, a lot of the debut holomem have an extra rule box in the bottom right corner, and they say you may include any number of this holomem in the deck. So that's why you're wondering why you're able to run 9 copies of it. That is why. Normally the limit of a card is 4, but any extra rule on a card takes priority over what's in the rule book. You know, nothing super special about this other than the fact that you can run a bunch of it. You're going to make sure you're drawing into a debut turn 1, trying not to mulligan. But for one cheer, does 40 damage. So again, not bad. For one cheer, 40 damage is pretty good. I've seen a lot worse. And it has an effect too, which this arts can only target the opponent's center holomem. So, you know, a lot of these effects anyway are geared towards adding extra damage to your opponent's center holomem. So I don't see that as a substantial drawback. I think it's not a big deal at all. So that's going to be the rundown of the holomems in this set. And then, of course, looking at, we already talked about the mascot card, but looking at the others, you got some staples here. You've got your manager, who is one of your limited cards in the deck, which is actually the only limited card in this build. But you can only use that card if you have one or more cards in your hand, excluding this one. Return all of your cards in your hand to the deck and shuffle it, then draw 5 cards from your deck. So just a staple way to refresh your hand. You've got normal PC for search. You can reveal 1 debut holomem from your deck, place it on stage, and then shuffle the deck. Sub PC for additional search. You look at the top 5 cards of your deck, reveal 1 limited support card from among them, and add it to your hand, then return the rest to the bottom of the deck in any order. So that's going to be searching your manager card. And then lastly, Stone Axe. This is a fantastic tool card. You see this in a lot of deck lists. The effect is the holomem this tool is attached to gets arts plus 20. When the holomem this tool is attached to uses arts, deal 10 special damage to this holomem. So basically, you know, you get an extra 20 for the cost of 10 of your own HP every time you attack. Not a bad trade-off, especially when you just need that little bit extra to get the job done. This deck has such a great way of fixing math for you in those scenarios where you can move around special damage, you can attach mascots and tools to boost, you can collab to boost. It's kind of nuts. And it does, the Sonax does have another ability, but it only pertains to if it's attached to Aki Rosenthal, so we're going to ignore that for now. But that's the general rundown of how this deck works in the Blooming Radiance, and just so we can kind of look ahead so you have an idea of what you're looking at in the future. We do in fact get restrictions, at least in the Japanese meta. My assumption is that other regions are going to get the same ban list, but to be fair, we don't 100% know for sure, so that could change things a lot. But we're going to move under the assumption that we'll eventually be hit with those ban lists as well, as tournaments start becoming more and more standardized in English-speaking regions. So with the restriction list, the debut Amane Kanata that we talked about, that gives you that plus 30 on its club effect, it gets restricted to 1 copy, and you know, decent restriction. But as you can see, when we were reviewing the deck list, there's a lot of early great cards, and having that 1 card reduced from 4 copies to 1 and still having, you know, the full list for the others, not that bad. Meanwhile, Mume has both her First Bloom Mume and First Bloom Iris restricted to 1 copy, so that's going to be a much more substantial hit in that expansion of that deck, and that's why you're going to see in this tier list why Mume drops pretty significantly, almost down to the bottom of the tier list. So it's kind of sad to see that happen to our Promise ladies, but this is why Amane is my choice for the best deck for your buck. And looking at set 3, again, Amane Kanata reigns supreme. Not only amazing at butt sumo, but also amazing at card games. Stays very prominent. And then eventually there's another restriction in the set 3, but even then, not enough to bring her all the way down. Your second bloom Amane gets restricted to 1 copy, and that, you know, as we talked about, extremely strong card, so that is definitely a much bigger hit to the deck than just that other debut card getting limited to 1 copy. But again, it's not enough to derail the game plan of this deck. Mume gets a bit of a buff by having the Mume First Bloom unrestricted. You're back to 4 copies, so that's much more promising for Promise. And set 4, as you can see, the trend continues. So that's all I've got for you today. I hope you enjoyed my breakdown of the Amane Kanata deck build. Thank you again to Chocolat for Holo Archive and these resources. It's extremely valuable, and like I said, I'm going to put the links to this and the fan Discord in the description down below. So if you agree with my choice for the best deck to invest in, let me know in the comments. If you think something else is worth your time, let me know in the comments either way. But if you can, give this video a thumbs up, hit that like button, drop your comments, hit that subscribe button, and ring that bell. It really helps the channel grow. I love hololive, I love card games, and I want to keep making more and more videos about this game and help it grow. So any support I can get is much appreciated. So thank you so much. Hope you enjoyed the video, and I'll see you next time. Bye.
Hi, Cameron.